Wow, it is so refreshing to see a mayor who gets the vision of what sustainability looks like if you get things right and isn't afraid to say poo-poo on stage. So what's not to like? We're going to move right along. We're going to talk about how Japan and Hawaii are working together to achieve their mutual goals in sustainability and renewable energy. You've met, and moderating that is Ramsey Siegel, Strategic Partnership, International, and Pipeline with Energy Accelerator. You've met a couple of people from Energy Accelerator, Don Lippert, Jill Sims up here on stage, and probably several others. Our other really amazing, terrific partners for which we are incredibly grateful for bringing us here and making this happen. Ramsey's going to lead this next conversation. Please welcome to the stage Ramsey and her panel.
Thank you. All right, aloha. All right, so today our panel is all about international collaboration. I'm very excited to introduce our panelists. The first is Sadao Asato, who's the Managing Director of Enitech. We also have a translator for him, Ayano Nishimura. This is the first time on a Verge stage that we've had a translator, so I'm very excited to have him here. Jeff Miller, the Director of DOE's Japan office, and he also works with the US Embassy in Tokyo. And Jay Ignacio, the President of HELCO. So I'm honored to have you all here today. I'd like to start by asking Asato-san 3 questions about the Hawaii and Okinawa partnership. So Asato-san, I understand that you've been promoting the deployment of renewable energy in Japan and overseas. Can you share with us some of the grid dynamics that you're seeing in Okinawa?
はい、まずはですね、このような機会をいただきましてですね、関係者の皆さんに深く感謝申し上げたいと思います。
First of all, I'm honored to be given this opportunity today, and I would like to express my deep appreciation to everyone who organizers and everyone who helped me to come up on the stage.
ご質問の件なんですけれども、我々沖縄はですね、数多くの島々を抱えていましてですね、そこに電力供給をするために大小さまざまな電力系統を有しております。我々はその系統の中でですね、電力の安定供給、そして再生可能エネルギー導入の促進という活動を行ってきました。
As you know, as you may know, Okinawa is comprised of many islands, and its power system has various sizes. And we have worked to provide a stable supply of power as well as to deploy renewable energy on each grid.
沖縄の系統でですね、一番大きな系統は沖縄本島の系統でありましてですね、最大電力が150万キロワット。の規模で、このオアフ島の規模とほぼ同じくらいの規模です。そして使用する電圧もですね、ほぼ同じ電圧でですね、沖縄の系統はハワイの系統に非常によく似通った系統であります。
And the largest grid in Okinawa is the one in the mainland Okinawa, the Okinawa mainland. Its peak power is 1,500 megawatts, which is nearly the same as Oahu Island. And the voltage is also nearly the same. And the Okinawa's grid is very similar to Hawaii, so to speak.
沖縄本島の電力系統においてはですね、1988年に大規模な停電を経験しました。それ以降ですね、我々は電力系統の強化に努めてきました。その一つとしてですね、系統の二重化あるいはループ化を行ってですね、強固な電力系統を構築してきました。
In 1988, in Okinawa, we experienced a massive power failure in Okinawa main island. In its power grid. Since then, we have focused on our efforts on strengthening the power system. We have taken measures such as a duplication and looping of the system and managed to build a robust power system.
最近ではですね、ここハワイと一緒でですね、増大する再生可能エネルギーに、よってですね、電圧変動あるいは周波数変動のいろいろな問題が起こっておりまして、我々はそれに対応するためのですね、系統安定化の活動を続けているところです。
As the mayor just spoke, just like in Honolulu, in Okinawa, we are experiencing the increase of the power usage quite drastically. And we are currently engaged in grid stabilization due to increasing such a penetration of renewable energy, such as voltage change and everything.
一方離島の電力系統といいますとですね、大きい系統で約6万、小さい系統ですと約600と大小さまざまな系統を持っています。
On the other hand, the remote islands in Okinawa, our neighbor islands, have very different sizes grid, in ranging from the largest to which is the peak power is approximately 60 megawatts, to the smaller ones with the 600 kilowatts. We have a large variety.
離島の発電所においてはですね、燃料の高騰、そして、輸送費の高騰に悩まされておりまして、我々はその対応としてですね、再生可能エネルギーを発電用電源に使う取り組みを行ってきました。その一つの取り組みとしてですね、ディーゼルと風力あるいは太陽光といった組み合わせのですね、ディーゼルハイブリッドシステムを構築してきました。
In the power plants on the remote islands or neighbor islands, we have challenges of high fuel prices and then soaring transportation costs, transport costs. So in order to reduce the power generation costs, what we are doing is we've been working proactively to leverage more renewable energy. As of one of these initiatives, we have built a hybrid power system which combines diesel generation and wind power or solar power.
So, Asato-san, I understand that you have formed an international collaboration with Hawaii to look at some of your grid issues. Can you talk about the learnings from that experience?
ハワイとのですね、パートナーシップに関してはですね、ハワイ電力の大島社長、そして、こちらにいらっしゃる井川社長のですね、全面的な協力をいただいてですね、すでに、スタートしております。ここで改めてご協力いただいたことに深く感謝申し上げます。
Concerning our international partnerships with Hawaii, I would like to stress that we have the very strong support and cooperation from President Oshima in HICO, and here we have President Ignacio in HELCO. And we have already begun exchanges and then dialogue. So, here I would like to show once again our appreciation for your cooperation. Thank you very much.
我々がこの交流の中で、ハワイ側から得た知見というのはですね、やはり増大する再生可能エネルギーの対応する系統技術、特にフィーダーの保護システムというのがですね、非常に沖縄にとって参考になる技術だと思います。やはり実際に経験されたこの技術というのが非常に重要だと思います。
And I believe the knowledge we have obtained or lessons learned through our exchanges on grid technology for the growing amount of rooftop PV, especially the technology used for their feeder protection system, will be very helpful. I believe technology that we have experienced that is important above all else.
そしてスマートインバーターの技術、沖縄でもですね、太陽光の出力測定が始まります。系統を安定化させるためにはやはり分散型の電源もですね、系統に調和した形で導入することが非常に重要だと思っています。このような技術がですね、同じ問題を抱えている沖縄にとってですね、非常に有効な技術だと思っています。
And I'd like to mention the smart inverter. Concerning that type of technology, curtailment of PV output will begin in Okinawa soon. In order to stabilize the grid, distributed generation must be integrated in harmony with the grid. This technology will be very valuable in the future of Okinawa, which has similar issues.
このような交流がですね、ますます発展することを期待しています。
And I'm hoping that this type of exchange will be more strengthened, and then our ties will be, or bond will be more stronger. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So Jay, can you share how this collaboration fits into the state's overall goal of 100% renewable energy?
Well, you heard Asato-san speak about the similarities between Okinawa and Hawaii. Just starting from that point where both systems are similar, I think we can learn from each other. You know, we're both island utilities, and island utilities have many uniqueness because we're not interconnected to a much larger grid. We've been to Okinawa, we visited their system, and I think much of the learning we want to continue with comes from their smaller islands, where, like us on Hawaii Island, where we're now nearly 50% renewable, they have smaller islands with much higher penetrations in their main island. And it's on those islands where we can share notes and share learning. And one of the first things we want to pursue is having our system operators, our engineers meet with their engineers and compare notes and compare learnings and share the technology exchange. So that's one primary area that Asato-san and Tamaki-san, who we met in Okinawa, the head of Enetec, wants to pursue. That's kind of his primary mission. And I think that's a good one because the solutions start with the people. The other area that they're very interested in learning from us, actually, is how we had worked with our inverter manufacturers and photovoltaic suppliers to set inverter standards and to understand inverter technology and capabilities so that we could work with them and then allow more connection of photovoltaic onto the system. We as a utility didn't have the full understanding of what the inverter capabilities were, but working directly with them, actually doing real testing with our national laboratories, we were able to depend on the inverters to ride through low voltage situations or under or over frequency situations and quickly disconnect when there's over voltage situations. On that basis, we're able to connect more photovoltaic systems. So going forward, we're going to work with Japan's national labs to share and do information exchange. They also have been using undersea cables for many years. It's just second nature to them. It's nothing new. Here in Hawaii, we do not have any undersea cable interconnections. So I'd like to have our engineers start to work with their engineers and kind of take away some of the fear and the unknown with the use of undersea cables. So that's another area that we're partnering. We're also having, just like in Okinawa, situations where you have high penetrations of photovoltaic energy. And in some of the breakout sessions, we talked about system stability and making sure that we balance load and generation. And in the past, when we had a sudden loss of generation, we would have frequency declines, and we would have to protect the system by doing sudden disconnection of load, or what we call under-frequency load shedding. But now that you have distribution generation, you no longer can have a static prediction of what the load on a circuit is. So if you try to use that scheme and do automatic load shedding, you're going to be wrong because you have so much photovoltaic energy during the day, but yet the system is so different at night. So our scheme is a static under-frequency protection scheme. What we need to do is move to a dynamic under-frequency load shedding scheme where we can actually know the net load on the system, where you have generation and you also have load, but we need to know the net loads that when we run into these anomalies, we need to make sure that we're shedding the right amount of load to get back to balance quickly. Okinawa has been doing that, as Asato-san talked about, is when they had that large disruption in what was it, 1988, they actually moved to a dynamic underfrequency load shedding. So they have a scheme in there that Tamaki-san actually designed. So we have an opportunity to work with the Okinawan engineers to kind of check on our system, because we're already in progress. We already have designed our system. We are in deployment right now, but we would like to have our engineers work with their engineers and share notes. And they have, many years of experience with dynamic underfrequency load shedding, where we're just deploying ours now. So those are some of the examples we want to pursue.
It's fantastic. So Jeff, I have been following the market deregulation in Japan pretty closely, and I know there's a lot of activity in the last couple months. Could you share an update, what you're seeing on the ground?
Sure, happy to do that. So let me start by saying that for DOE in Japan, we're focusing on energy, security, science, and environment as our top line vectors for improving our bilateral relationship with Japan. And that means we're supporting not only government programs, but we want to support collaborations between national laboratories and universities, and we want to help our private companies come to the Japanese market. And so we're really proud of Okinawa, Hawaii as one particular program which has accomplished a lot over the last 6 years. And based on what I've just heard, we're really excited for the future as well. But also from the national level, there's a tremendous amount of change going on in Japan right now. And so we think there's a lot of opportunity for US companies that want to come to the market and roll up their sleeves and work hard and try to penetrate. And I think that we all know that Japan had a bad nuclear power station accident in March of 2011, precipitated by a really bad earthquake and tsunami. And actually, those three factors continue to ripple through Japan right now. But as Ramsey started saying, there have been some positive developments also since March of 2011, such as the introduction of a generous feed-in tariff for renewable power, such as an aggressive deregulation agenda, which has resulted in the liberalization of the retail electricity market from April 2016, as well as the creation of a grid-wide operator, which over time will get stronger and create more interdependencies between Japan's 9 utilities operating on the main islands. And so deregulation, the liberalization of the power market just occurred in April of 2016. I think for us, one of the biggest takeaways right now is the increased competition for customers between the electric power companies and some of the new market entrants. And probably one of the most interesting statistics is going to be from our bellwether power company, TEPCO. And they're announcing that they've lost around 2% of their customers since April of 16. And Tokyo Gas and gas companies seem to be the biggest beneficiaries so far of this trend, because they're able to sell gas and power now in fully liberalized markets. Of course, there are other new entrants as well, but we're really looking at what Tokyo Gas has accomplished in a short period of time.
Great. So with deregulation, there's an enhanced focus on the customer experience. And I'm curious your opinion on where that opens the door for both utilities and startups to innovate.
Yeah, so let me share a few things with you. First of all, just from the top level viewpoint, in the year 2030, Japan's target for renewable power is 22 to 24%. They also have an energy conservation target of 17%. And a climate greenhouse gas reductions target of 26%, which is their COP21 target. And so that's the direction that the national government is setting. And I think you could imagine that it's possible to have markets for low carbon technologies on the supply and the demand side of energy based on those types of directions for years to come. But going one level down into the utility space, there's obviously increased competition for customers, as I mentioned, between the electricity power companies and new market entrants in the retail electricity space. And right now, it seems to be more competition based on price and perhaps bundling of services, but over time, due to some structural changes that are going to occur in the market, such as the potential for demand response programs, such as the introduction of a capacity market that may be modeled on PJM, and also such as smart meters, which are being rolled out by all of the utilities in Japan right now, along with smart grid services, there will be different opportunities for electric power companies and new market entrants to differentiate themselves on services more than price. So I think that a lot of the things we've heard about over the past 2 days here are going to be very relevant in Japan now and in the years to come.
Wonderful. So Jay, Helco is not in the process of deregulating, obviously, but I'm curious if your team is looking at opportunities to innovate around the customer experience.
We are, and the people in this room are very familiar with the more progressive programs that utilities are doing. I just want to be assured that many of our customers, their experience actually, they look to the utility to provide all the service. So we can't forget that group, even if this group is a very progressive one. So we can't do programs that actually hurt a large group of our customers. But the kind of programs we're looking at, we have application before the Public Utilities Commission right now to do a smart grid platform. And I think that will give us a platform to do a lot of the programs that we want to do, some of the demand response programs that we want to implement, the time of use programs that we can use to displace load. Maybe we can bring load into the day period so that we can actually enhance and provide more opportunities for people to self-generate, because there's still a lot of interest in self-generation. The grid supply and now the self-supply program that we have for customers, where they can actually put in their own generation and actually store the energy for use during the later day periods. Community solar program that we have out there. All of those programs are things that can enhance the customer experience, and we're actively pursuing those right now.
Fantastic. So I think we'll send it over to the sidebar and see if anything interesting is coming in.
Yeah, so we have a few online viewers that have raised the issue of how in the US we're seeing much more corporate interest in buying renewable power, as well as in places like China. So people are wondering if there's that sort of center of gravity for the corporate buyers emerging in Japan.
I would say from what we're seeing from Tokyo, not so much, quite honestly. I mean, there's much more of a sense of environmental responsibility here, I would say, in the United States than there is in Japan right at this moment, in terms of wanting to use renewable power either exclusively or for a large percentage of the power for one's business. I mean, that could change in the future, and there are some US companies that have come in, such as Apple, and they are saying that they want to have only renewable power, and so that could wind up being a market driver, but it's still very early at this stage.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, we had another question about financing for clean energy infrastructure. Anything you would point to there in terms of specific projects?
Go ahead.
クリーンエネルギー
クリーンエネルギーのインフラのコストについて。
はい、沖縄に関してはですね、クリーンエネルギーのインフラコストっていうのは、離島を抱えてますんで、輸送費、あるいは建設機材の入手ということでですね、若干高めのコストになってます。ただ競争相手になるこの化石燃料を使った発電というのも同じように高い条件でありますので、我々としてはいろんな島々でですね、こういうコストを比較しながら導入していく検討をしているところです。
As for Okinawa, as I explained before, we have neighbor islands, many islands, and we incur transport costs and then other construction costs, and then maybe building materials and so forth. So the cost is relatively on the higher side. However, we can say the same thing about the existing fossil fuel energy, which is our competitor. It can be, of course, it can be on the expensive side. So what we're trying to do is to, depending on which island we take, we do the cost comparison and then try to be efficient and smart to install the type of the energy.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah, the last one was related to generation sources. In Japan's case, are we talking mostly about efforts to develop solar, or is there more potential that could be tapped to develop things like offshore wind, wave technology, anything else?
Yeah, that's a good question. So far, the feed-in tariff, because the ROI on solar has been so favorable, that's been where most of the interest is. But where the market is going, I think, is more toward wind, both onshore and offshore. And there is a feed-in tariff for both of those, plus more traditional baseload sources like geothermal and biomass.
Great. So at Energy Accelerator, we're all about innovation to solve some of our big challenges here. And I'm curious, just to wrap it up, one last question from each of you. What technology would you love to see in the world today that's not currently available?
You know, we had some discussions earlier on ocean thermal energy. I think if we had that available today, I think that would be a good resource for us. For us, in the near term, you know, I wish we had our smart grid platform deployed already, where we could have the ability to monitor all of the generation load, but have a much better information base in order to manage the system. I think that is going to help us enhance more renewable energy in Hawaii.
Yeah, actually, I think for me personally, it would be a greater emphasis on DC power-based technologies, because that would help a lot with spreading renewables, especially in Japan.
今の質問なんですけども、ハワイとですね、沖縄は小規模で、独立した系統で、お互いに技術を培ってきました。で、これはとても素晴らしい技術だと思います。
With Hawaii and Okinawa, under these harsh conditions of having a small and standalone power grids, we have developed our own original technologies, and then I think they're great technologies.
今後はですね、この連携の中で、お互いの技術を融合していく努力をしていくべきだと思います。そのためにはですね、お互い共同のプロジェクトを立ち上げてですね、技術者が交流する機会を積極的に作ることが非常に重要だと思っています。
And I believe that we should aim for the further innovations by collaborating and then fusing our technologies together. And by doing so, we have to create more opportunities proactively and more aggressively so that we can interact and then develop with each other. And then I think that'll lead us to more innovation.
その成果をですね、お互いの地域にフィードバックしてすることによってですね、お互いの地域が発展していくものと思います。そして最終的にはですね、この成果というのは我々だけじゃなくてアジアとかあと太平洋諸国の皆さんにもですね、提供していくことがもう一つの我々の役目だというふうに思っています。
And then I think it is very important that not just to work together, we have to give feedback to each other so that we can do a better job. And not only just Hawaii and Okinawa and Hawaii and Japan or US and Japan, we would like to start working together with other Asian countries and as well as other nations in the Pacific Rim. So that we will grow together and then be good to Earth all together. And then I think that's going to be our future role.
Great. Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And help me give a round of applause to our panel.